America's Heartland is made possible by the United Soybean Board, whose Common Ground program creates conversations to help consumers get the facts about farming and food. There's more at findourcommonground.com. The American Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture, dedicated to building greater awareness and understanding of agriculture through education and engagement. More information at agfoundation.org. Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. The Fund for Agriculture Education, a fund created by KVIE to support America's Heartland programming. Contributors include the following:
they jockey for position to get the best photo.
Everybody's cheering and everybody's happy.
But it's not celebrities on the red carpet they're after, and this isn't Hollywood. This is Madison, Wisconsin. So they're taking photos of, what else? Cheese. Cheese is serious business here in Wisconsin. It's why the World Cheese Competition attracts people from all over the globe here every year. But the battle for dairy supremacy isn't just going on here in the Madison Convention Center. Two states battle for top honors. Who makes the most cheese? Who makes the most milk? Who has the happier cows?
Oh, Wisconsin, America's Dairyland, of course.
I would have to side with California.
California and Wisconsin slug it out, trying to reign supreme in the milk and cheese arena. I'm Jason Schultz, still ahead on a special edition of America's Heartland. It's the Midwest versus the West Coast and a battle royale with cheese.
The competition it's been tougher and tougher every year.
Only the finalists are left. The remaining cheesemakers from around the world who are looking to be crowned best cheese in the world.
And the next thing we're going to is we're looking at the texture. So a little bit of bending and looking at what's the texture like. We probably have to put this in our mouth to see, just how, I can see how that snaps.
We are looking for, firstly, for appearance, to see is any damage. Yes, some cracks or
some unusual mold.
Some unusual color and something like
or
that.
Or yeast or mites.
Yes.
The flavor of the milk should come through. It should have fresh milk flavor. And the flavor should be very persistent, tiny bit salty, but well balanced overall.
If you're one of those folks who just chomps into string cheese,
probably one of the main problem with this cheese is that it might be a little bit chewy.
Who doesn't delicately peel back the strands to savor the creamy goodness, then you might want to stay away from Madison, Wisconsin in early March.
Probably one of the best flavors, a little bit too much salt.
And definitely keep your distance from Robert Ashbrook.
I'm chief judge for the world contest.
Robert and all of the other judges here take their cheese seriously. Quite seriously. The cheese sampled here has been flown in from across the United States and around the world to vie for the title of World Cheese Champion.
So the cheese that comes to the top on this is really a winner. I mean, to make it that far with that many people looking at it, it has to be a very fine quality product. And we take a lot of pride in that when that cheese is the grand champion, it is a grand champion.
This year, over 2,500 cheeses have been entered into this prestigious contest, representing 24 nations and 30 states.
While there is certainly a global presence here, it's worth noting that the U.S. beats every other country when it comes to dairy production. Nobody makes more cheese than us. And two states that lead the way, Wisconsin and California. We'll get back to the competition in a moment. First, let's get to the states. This is Fiscalini Farms, located just south of Sacramento, California. And this is John Fiscalini.
My grandfather moved here in 1912 and started dairying, I think, in 1914. So we've been an actual farm for 100 years and a dairy farm for 98 years.
He operates a typical size dairy in the Golden State. Big dairy barns, 1,500 cows, lots of milk, like 14,000 gallons a day.
It was probably back in the, I don't know, 1970s, 1980s, where the California dairy scenario changed from the average dairy size being, smaller than a couple of hundred to larger than 400 or 500. And a large deal was California had a lot of dairies in Chino, in the Los Angeles area, and as that city exploded in population, you had a whole lot of dairy farmers who maybe had a 200 or 300 cow dairy, but all of a sudden were selling their property for real estate prices, whether intentional or not. We ended up with a huge amount of dairy farmers in California with a great deal of cash that could go in and build a 1,000 cow dairy, a state-of-the-art facility where their contemporaries and what they did prior to that was milking only a few hundred cows.
California's Central and South Valleys are home to large-scale dairies like Fiscalini Farms, and some are even much bigger. The state's dairy farmers are focused on efficiency like a laser beam, getting more milk out of the cow through breeding and diet. This isn't the idyllic image of dairy farms, but John says that's okay.
I think the large dairies got blamed for changing the lifestyle, changing what a farmer was. But in the long haul, it seems to be the most efficient way to produce milk. And from what most people would say, the larger dairies have more money, have more employees, therefore they have a better quality milk.
After the milk leaves the cows here, most of it ends up going to a processor to be made into dairy products like ice cream. And some of the milk doesn't travel far at all. Mariano Gonzalez is the cheesemaker at Fiscalini Cheese. He's from Paraguay. This morning he's making an old world style cheddar.
Every day we come in with a mentality of making a superb cheese. We're starting with a perfect cheese in our mind, and from there we're trying to, basically what we do is guide the bacteria in their process of fermentation. We give them the right environment to grow and develop acid and texture.
Fiscalini's cheddar cheese actually won an award for the world's best extra mature cheddar in 2007 in London.
When you talk about using fresh milk for cheese, this is about as fresh as you can get.
Oh yeah. They're probably no more than an hour and a half, and the first cow got milk in my tank by the time that we bring the milk and start making the cheese.
We can actually trace our roots back to dairy farming in Switzerland back to 1705, so 300 years of dairy farming, and they had to be cheesemakers in Switzerland because I visited where they lived, and if you had dairy cows that high up in the Alps in the winter, either threw the milk away or you made it into something that would last long enough that you could sell it later on. And I know my ancestors were Swiss, so they were pretty tight, so they didn't throw it away. So undoubtedly they made cheese in the winter and then carried it down the mountain and sold it in the spring.
Making award-winning artisan cheese requires lots of time and attention to detail. Mariano showed me the aging room where the cheese wheels are covered in mold.
And what does the mold do to the cheese?
It protects the cheese really for not to lose so much moisture in this case. In other cases, the mold gives flavor to the cheese and different things. The important here is to develop all the mold on the surface of the cheese, so underneath the cloth, the cheese can develop the rind.
Some people might say, wait a minute, mold on cheese, that doesn't make sense to me, but for you, for a cheesemaker, this is exactly what you want.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a legacy, if you will, but you want to pass the legacy down to the next generation and the following generations, and you want to keep everything intact and continue to grow on it and build it.
The artisan cheese helps with John's bottom line, but he says he's pretty much maxed out when it comes to efficiency. The price to feed his animals and fuel his farm keeps going up much faster than what he gets for his milk. The price of milk paid to farmers here is set by the state of California.
our profit level has gone down to the point where we've lost money for a number of years, and you have to borrow against land to stay in business. When you've been in business, you're my age, 60 plus years, and you've been in business your whole life, and supported your family, and you've supported your employees, and you find out that you either have to sell your facility or you're going to go through bankruptcy or whatever. I'm sure that's got to be an extremely frightening situation, and I don't know how I would handle that myself. As I'm looking at where I am in this economy, I realize that every day that I'm losing money, I'm getting a little bit closer to that. I hope to hang on. I hope to be able to have my son and my grandson continue the legacy here, but it's getting very grim.
While the picture remains bleak for many dairy farmers, some California dairy farms are finding success by capitalizing on new demand for organic milk and artisan cheese. On a quiet morning just north of San Francisco, fresh milk is being unloaded that will soon get turned into artisan cheese. For the past 2 years, they've been churning out the cheese at Nicasio Valley Cheese Company in Marin County.
Well, we've been in the cheese business now for about 2.5 years. Our roots are Swiss-Italian, and our cheeses are all based on recipes from a cheesemaker who comes from the same village in Switzerland that our grandfather immigrated from over 100 years ago.
The LaFranchi brothers are taking advantage of the growing demand for farmstead organic cheeses, and their location is just right for a renaissance of sorts.
Our dairy operation has been in the family since 1919, but the dairies of West Marin were the original San Francisco milk pail and for many years the dairy capital of California. And those dairies were all founded and succeeded because of their ability to sustain agriculture. They had long growing seasons, they had a unique terroir that produced high quality forage that in turn produced high quality milk, which allowed them to make cheeses and butters that were world renowned.
But as those larger dairies took hold in California and were able to increase their efficiency, this region lost its edge.
They couldn't milk the number of cows that you can in the valley. The environment just won't support that, and they also had to use similar feeds a good part of the year that they had to pay for the trucking to come up here, and the cost just didn't pencil out.
So why is LaFranchi positive about the future for this dairy region? 3 things: an increasing demand for organic milk, growing interest in artisan cheese, and changes in regulations that mean cows must spend several months each year grazing on pasture ground in order to be certified organic. The 420 cows here spend the rainy months on the pasture grounds when the grass is green. During dry months, they're in cow barns eating organic feed.
Our area has become a unique cheese-making region. 15 years ago, there were 3 cheesemakers in the North Bay. Today, there's 29. And so we're very proud to be a part of that and believe that collectively we're establishing a region that hopefully will someday be known worldwide as one of the fine cheese regions of the world. I think there's an appetite and a growing appreciation for artisan cheese throughout this country that is still very early in its beginning. And I look forward to where we are 10 years from now as far as artisan cheese consumption in this country, because it has nowhere to go but up.
About 10 to 15% of their milk ends up as artisan cheese. The rest gets sold to a distributor for milk. Because it's organic, the price is not set by the state of California and hasn't been subjected to the ups and downs of conventional milk prices paid to farmers.
Category is party.
Back at the cheese competition in Madison, the judges are carefully sniffing, sampling, and deciding which cheeses will make it to the finals.
And for such job you need to be fully concentrated. No thinking about anything else, just about cheese.
The competition has been tougher and tougher every year, and the reason is the quality of the milk has improved immensely in the United States. From the day I started in the cheese factory making cheese, we had a small test or 2 that we did on the milk before we used it. Now that milk is tested in so many ways, and that has affected the quality of the product, the finished product. You start out with a good raw material, you'll wind up with good finished material.
It's a sold-out crowd, 400 people waiting anxiously to see the winners and sample some delicious cheeses from around the world.
To me, it's like the perfect combination of an event where you get to be in the room where the world champion is named, and at the same time you're eating some amazing cheeses from countries that you would never have the opportunity to eat otherwise.
They have judges from all over the world, and they have an American with somebody else from a different country. So they share their knowledge in aromas and salt levels and all their taste buds, and then that they can agree on something on a cheese. You know, it's tremendous.
Not far away from the hot competition inside that Madison, Wisconsin ballroom, on a snowy and cold countryside northeast of Madison sits the Crave Brothers Dairy. The milk is flowing here. The Crave Brothers will milk 1,000 cows today. The family purchased this dairy farm in 1980 and in 2002 started making their own farmstead cheeses.
We're just looking at how to grow the family business, how to get off the commodity treadmill, however you want to look at it, but just add more value to our product that we produced, our raw product, which was raw milk that we produced on our farm.
They make fresh mozzarella along with European-style cheeses that have won several awards.
This is a real reflection of what we do at Crave Brothers Farmstead Cheese, where just a few hours ago these curds were milked at our farm just 320 feet across the road, where the milk comes over, it's pasteurized, and then we make our farm fresh cheese out of it.
Specialty cheeses have always been a part of Wisconsin's dairy profile, but like dairy farmers in California, they're taking advantage of a growing interest in artisan cheeses fresh from the farm. That's on display at Sassy Cow Creamery in Columbus, Wisconsin. The Beowulf brothers are meeting the demand for organic and non-organic milk. There are 200 cows on the organic side of this operation and 400 on the non-organic. Their milk ends up getting sold as milk, cream, cheese, and ice cream. In eastern Wisconsin, about a mile from Lake Michigan, is Saxon Creamery, where you'll find artisan raw, unpasteurized cheeses made from pasture-fed cows.
Our dairy is based on pasture, and pasture and dairy cows just fit together like a glove and a hand, or a baby with candy. Cows are bovines, and they thrive on an environment where they're outside and they're eating forages.
We make 4 cheeses with our cow's milk, and what we've done is the food consumer is always changing, and right now there is quite a movement to eat high quality food, knowing the story of where the food comes from, and also the raw aspect of product.
For this dairy family, producing cheese was a way to add value to their milk, which normally would be sold as a commodity. Saxon's cheeses are raw cheeses with a European-influenced style.
Is it profitable? It certainly is. It's a very good system agronomically and environmentally, and it makes sense financially.
Just under a quarter of Wisconsin's dairies use pasture grazing to feed their cows. So there are certainly lots of similarities. California cows look a lot like Wisconsin cows. Their cheese vats look the same. The milk flows just as well in Wisconsin as it does in California. So how do the states stack up? When it comes to milk, California wins. The Golden State produces more milk, almost a quarter of the U.S. milk supply. But Wisconsin makes more cheese, and specialty cheese is really taking off in Wisconsin. Almost half of the specialty cheese made in the U.S. comes from America's dairyland.
We really specialize here in Wisconsin on making specialty cheeses, artisan dairy products to really reflect our heritage here and our history of what we've done in Wisconsin for years and years is making really great dairy products out of our farm fresh milk.
Wisconsin certainly has the history. The state was already becoming known for its dairy farming in the late 1800s. And Wisconsin makes more cheese than Italy, Egypt, or the Netherlands.
We have the tradition, we have the history, we have the expertise. We have master cheesemakers here in Wisconsin.
Just how much bigger are those California dairy farms? Well, think about this. In both states, there are more than 1 million cows. In Wisconsin, those cows are spread across 12,000 farms. In California, only 1,600 dairy farms. And the #1 type of cheese produced in both states, mozzarella. If you were looking for one thing that stepped up the battle between California and Wisconsin dairies, look no further than these.
Morning.
California's Happy Cow Dairy Campaign.
So what do you think then? Get an early start on that alfalfa on the back 40?
What's the hurry? Hit the snooze.
Great milk comes from happy cows. Happy cows come from California.
The idea that California's cheese tastes better because of California's nice climate didn't sit well with Wisconsin's dairy farmers.
It's interesting. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Did you hear?
Hear what?
Sadie made a break for it.
No way.
She's heading to California.
Hey, Sadie's going to California.
Yeah, well, there was that one of the cow walking in a snowstorm, going to California, and other cows are looking at her, and you see her off in a distance. She's about 100 yards away, and they said, how long has she been gone?
2 days ago.
I think our cows are happier here. A cow enjoys cool weather, and we obviously have cooler weather here in Wisconsin. We do have the green pastures, the rolling hills, and really good limestone well water, which really makes really good cow feed.
Here we go.
Foot massage.
California's dairy producers point out that the commercials weren't intended to cast Wisconsin's cows in a bad light.
Oh, yeah, those never last long enough.
That they are just having a little fun in California's attempt to sell more dairy products.
Oh, I love it here. No snow on the grass. Huh? 'Cause I hate big snowdrifts, don't you know? Okay then. See ya. Bye.
Bye. What's snow?
I don't know.
She's been tipped one time too many.
They were poking fun at Wisconsin. I hope it was in good nature, and I hope they took that in good nature, but they were cute commercials.
While there are differences in taste, varieties, types of cheese, and even the farms themselves, a healthy competition ultimately helps, not hurts, both states.
I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. So Wisconsin was the top dog in the amount of milk that we were producing. And when California came on board, and California really brought home the quantity, it brought Wisconsin back a second and said, wait a minute, we need to focus on our quality, and it's been outstanding for the state.
Oh, for sure. There's room for Wisconsin and California. No two cheesemakers are ever going to make the same cheese, and I think the cheeses are both very complementary.
It's a commitment to try to raise the level of cheese making and cheese consuming in the United States. So there may be a little bit of fun poked at one another, but there's no animosity at all between California farmers and Wisconsin farmers that I'm aware of.
In fact, when California's John Fiscalini was recently honored with a National Dairy Award, guess who nominated him? Wisconsin's Crave brothers.
I really think, honestly speaking, we are a team. It doesn't matter in which state we are. Both my friends in Wisconsin and my friend here in California, we're all trying to make cheese and make the best cheeses possible for the American consumer. So really, we make better cheese than they do, but
Okay, so we can all get along. But really, who makes the better cheese? Well, back at the Cheese Championship in Madison, the top prize goes to...
It is the Vermeer, made by Team Stiernden, Friesland Campina, and Wolvega, Netherlands.
The Netherlands. Well, if two dueling dairy states can agree on anything, it's getting that world title back on U.S. soil next time.
That's going to do it for this special edition of America's Heartland. Thanks for joining us. You can always find us online at americasheartland.org or stay in touch with us through many of your favorite social media sites as well. We'll see you next time right here in America's Heartland.
You can purchase a DVD or Blu-ray copy of this program. Here's the cost. To order, just visit us online or call 888-814-3923.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland, living close to the land.
America's Heartland is made possible by the United Soybean Board, whose Common Ground program creates conversations to help consumers get the facts about farming and food. There's more at findourcommonground.com. The American Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture, dedicated to building greater awareness and understanding of agriculture through education and engagement. More information at agfoundation.org. Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. The Fund for Agriculture Education, a fund created by KBIE to support America's Heartland programming. Contributors include the following: America's Heartland is made possible by the United Soybean Board, whose Common Ground program creates conversations to help consumers get the facts about farming and food. There's more at findourcommonground.com. The American Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture, dedicated to building greater awareness and understanding of agriculture through education and engagement. More information at agfoundation.org. Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. The Fund for Agriculture Education, a fund created by KBIE to support America's Heartland programming. Contributors.
If you're one of those folks who just chomps into string cheese,
probably one of the main problem with this cheese is that it might be a little bit chewy.
Who doesn't delicately peel back the strands to savor the creamy goodness, then you might want to stay away from Madison, Wisconsin in early March.
Probably one of the best flavors. A little bit too much salt.
And definitely keep your distance from Robert Ashbrook.
I'm chief judge for the World Contest.
Robert and all of the other judges here take their cheese seriously. Quite seriously. The cheese sampled here has been flown in from across the United States and around the world to vie for the title of World Cheese Champion.
Include the following:
they jockey for position to get the best photo.
Everybody's cheering and everybody's happy.
But it's not celebrities on the red carpet they're after, and this isn't Hollywood. This is Madison, Wisconsin. So they're taking photos of, what else? Cheese. Cheese is serious business here in Wisconsin. It's why the World Cheese Competition attracts people from all over the globe here every year. But the battle for dairy supremacy isn't just going on here in the Madison Convention Center. Two remaining cheesemakers from around the world who are looking to be crowned best cheese in the world.
The next thing we're going to is we're looking at the texture. So a little bit of bending and looking at what's the texture like. We probably have to put this in our mouth to see, just how, I can see how that snaps.
We are looking for, firstly, for appearance, to see is any damage. Yes, some cracks or
some unusual mold.
Some unusual color and something like
or
that.
Or yeast or mites.
Yes.
The flavor of the milk should come through. It should have fresh milk flavor. The flavor should be very persistent, tiny bit salty, but well balanced overall.
If states battle for top honors, who makes the most cheese? Who makes the most milk? Who has the happier cows?
Oh, Wisconsin, America's Dairyland, of course.
I would have to side with California.
California and Wisconsin slug it out, trying to reign supreme in the milk and cheese arena.
I'm Jason Schultz, still ahead on a special edition of America's Heartland. It's the Midwest versus the West Coast and a battle royale with cheese.
The competition it's been tougher and tougher every year.
Only the finalists are left.